7-year-old apple tree that's had moderate training. And so oftentimes we do a lot of fruit tree pruning. They come on, clients hire us to prune their fruit trees, and we don't know what we're going to encounter when we get there. And this is one that's needs some work, obviously, the annual pruning. The first thing you want to always look for is any dead wood and remove the dead wood. That's just a no-brainer. You take out any dead wood that you find. This one looks pretty clean as far as dead wood, so I'm not worried about that. Often when you get an older apple tree, you'll get some dead wood that you need to deal with. For size control, we want to bring this top down. The thing is reaching for the sky. If you can see in here, this branch was trimmed off back in here last year, and you've got 7 feet of growth in one season. And so that would keep going to 25 feet. We don't want a 25-foot tree. We want about an 8-foot tree so we can reach the fruit. So that has to be dealt with. Interfering branches is a concern, like you have 2 branches here that are touching. And so we're concerned about that. So we'll be removing some of those interfering branches, and you take out the weakest one first. That's usually the general principle. So we're going to head it back. And the thing we want to protect is the fruiting wood. Remember I said apples bear on fruit spurs that bear for many years, and down inside the tree are the fruit spurs. Here's some that will keep bearing for many years, and they begin to develop even on the 1-year-old wood. Here's some developing fruit spurs up in here. Some of these we're going to lose, and some of these want to develop into future fruiting spurs, but a lot of them are down inside here. I was called out to a site last month to consult on some fruit trees that weren't bearing, and they had pruned them themselves, and I looked at the trees and they asked why they don't get apples. Well, they pruned off all the fruit spurs, and so that was lesson number 1. Don't do that, and then you'll get apples. So it's pretty easy. It's hard to go wrong. We're also going to thin out the center so we have air movement and kind of lighten things up. We want sunlight when it's fully foliated to reach down into the tree and reach the lower leaves. Otherwise, the lower branches and things will get shaded and begin to thin, and all the growth's up here. Again, we want to encourage growth down here, so by thinning the tree. Another reason to come in and do summer pruning. We'll get to that another time. Okay, so those are the principles, and I'm going to start pruning. When you have a lot of fruit trees to prune, sometimes you got to go kind of fast, but you want to still think about each cut, the impact it's going to have when you're done. So notice I'm bringing a lot of these whips back in about 2/3. And so we're still keeping some growth down in here that can develop fruit spurs, but sometimes I might come back and even do some more thinning on that. Competing branches here, get that out of the way. So I've got these 2 branches competing. I think I'll take this one out because it's growing into the center of that one, and this one I can bring out this way and kind of keep the branches down low and heading out. This one's competing. I'll take that one off completely, head that one back. This one has gone straight up in the air, going too tall. I'll bring it back here. These are called heading cuts, but I'm bringing it back to our lateral, so it's called a thinning cut in that regard, because that one will start growing come spring. I'm going to get in the inside here, and just anything growing into the middle, we're going to take out. Except the fruit spurs. I'll probably leave those because we can get some fruit down inside the tree, and that's not a bad thing. I'm tired already. My capability with that thing. What's nice about using the long reach is sometimes you got to get back and you can see better what you're doing than you can up close. You get a better perspective. Sometimes you do want to try to get a little balance on the tree, and so you don't prune one side a little more than the rest of it. And so having a little distance back here gives you a little more perspective from a distance to get that balance that you want. When you're dealing with a lot of those whips, sometimes it's just faster to go through and cut them all off, get them out of the way, then go back and do some thinning of them, the ones that you don't want to retain at all, and gets you a little more speed. Okay. Again, I'll go up here. What I'm trying to do here is get enough of this one side done so you can see the general structural difference from when I started. Trying to get that one there. I can't get my little pruners in there. There, I'll fix it. Okay, I pretty much finished the structural pruning of the apple tree. If you remember what it was like before, I had whips going up 6-7 feet, some of them, and I've brought those all down, so I'm down about 7 feet. We want to maintain this tree at about 8 foot, so we're trying to keep all of our fruit-bearing wood down low, and so that has been taken care of. Some of the whips have been thinned out as well, retaining some growth here that will develop some fruiting spurs where we can reach those. So we've maintained old fruiting spurs inside. We're trying to develop new fruiting spurs on this portion. If we do some summer pruning this summer, as those whips begin to get halfway up there, we prune those down. That's going to allow more light to get down, to get these leaves down here to photosynthesize and keep this part of the tree strong. Another plug for summer pruning. So we're pretty much there. If I had more time, I'd probably do a little more thinning out. I've got the center thinned out, reduction in height, and brought it back, and it's ready to go for the season.